Yeah. Y'all know what it is. I ain't gotta say a lot. We back in business, Baltimore. We back. We back. This the Let's Get To It show. And that's a tour with a you, cause I always got you in mind. So if you don't mind, let me break it down for you. Cause at the end of the day, you ain't never seen nothing like this before. And it's all for you. It's really all for you. And I am King Sound the Powerful. The biggest hater this side of Texas, I talk reckless. So if you want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. Matter of fact, y'all can't handle the truth. Court is in session, and y'all my goal getters. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Can we make the world better? I just want to make the world better. Let's make the world better. That's our topic for today, man. Let's make the world better. Let me give a shout out to Elise Pro Barbershop, right there on 368 Denby Boulevard. Y'all know what it is. I get my daily touch up, man. Y'all wonder why the shape up always looks so clean, why I always look so mean. I want to give a shout out to Eric Davis. That's Newt. He right there on 368 Denby Boulevard, y'all. They take walk-ins. They even do, appointments and all that stuff, man. You can get your braids done because you got Connie in the back. You got Eric. You got Ray. And you got Mook up in the front. And they all nice. They all gifted hands, y'all. Let me give another shout out. I don't know if y'all can see this real clear. Let me step to the side just a taste. This is Sunrise Kitchen, Bath, and Closets. They got 3 locations, one in Hampton, one in Chesapeake, and one in Virginia Beach. They're making the process of remodeling simple. They transforming homes. Y'all get in tune with them. Let me see if I can see this number right quick. That's 800-830-4605. That's Sunrise Kitchen, Bath, and Closets, y'all. Sunrise Kitchen, Bath, and Closets. I want to give a shout out to Mario Button. He got Button Boulevard. I want to give a shout out to Jamal Bryant. He got his own thing, comedian, content creator. I want to give a shout out to C. Terrell Scott. That's Christopher Terrell Scott. He on all platforms. He on TikTok mostly, but he doing his YouTube thing too. Button Boulevard. He got his newsletter on the stoop. You can catch him on all platforms. I think that's IG, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. Y'all check him out, man. That's Button Boulevard, Mario Button. And I want to give a shout out to Katina Miles. She I would like to say probably my producer, my editor. Like when I got ideas and topics, we kind of go over top of them. She give me a different perspective. I let her know because some of the topics I tell her about, she don't know. She just give me an honest, unbiased take on it. And that way we kind of build from that. So, I got 4 topics I want to go into. But the main topic of the day is, man, y'all put y'all weapons down, man. Y'all put y'all weapons down, man, please. Let's make the world a better place. And what I mean by that, like, everybody, so dug in. Everybody, they see how they see things, and they don't got no room to be open, no compassion, it's they way or no way at all. And it's like, man, like nobody wins in those situations like that. Nobody wins. Everybody just keep butting heads, and like, if nobody wins, we all lose. So it's like, in the great words of Rodney King, man, can we all just get along? Can we all just get along somehow, some way? And I was thinking about something before I get into these topics. I wanted to talk about how it's never okay for somebody else to get abused. If you see somebody getting bullied, if you're not going to step up for them and help them out, at least say something. Because that few seconds could save that person's life or save that person from getting humiliated and embarrassed And bullies, they like to prey on the weak. So sometimes it's strength in numbers. If somebody know he gotta, deal with two people, you know, that might be a harder task than dealing with one person. So sometimes your voice, your actions, it could be the thing that protect others. And you might feel like it's not you being bullied, so stay out of it. Don't stay out of it. That's a predator. That's a predator's advice to stay out of, mind your business. No, because sometimes it might be you that need the help. You might be the one that's getting abused, and you crying out for help. So sometimes you got to put the shoe on the other foot. If somebody crying out for help and you there, don't feel like it ain't your business, because it is your business. You in earshot of it. You see it. You know, Sometimes you got to show courage. So with that, I wanted to get into the topics of the day and try to bring them around full circle. The first topic I wanted to kind of get into was the Shedeur Sanders. If y'all don't know who Shedeur Sanders is, he's a quarterback that played for the Colorado, I think Buffaloes. His head coach was Deion Sanders, prime time. And he was before the draft, he was one of the, I guess, top ranked players, in the quarterback position. I'll be hard pressed to say there was 10 quarterbacks better than him. Overall, you might have not thought he was the best, but he had the stats and the winning percentage, at least, getting to I didn't see 20, 30 players better than him. But he wound up falling into the fourth round of the draft. That means out of 32 teams had a pick apiece. And he wound up falling in the fourth round. So he might have had 100 or so people go ahead of him. And to me, it was unbelievable. It was like watching buck breaking right in front of your eye. And when I say buck breaking, that's B-U-C-K, breaking. Is a tradition that they used to do to blacks in the slavery times, to where if they seen you had any strength in you, they wanted to humiliate you, break you down, and sometimes maybe even kill you in front of your peers, to let the world know, and those who right there on that plantation with you, that you don't have any power. It's called buck breaking. Now, the reason that they gave for not drafting him, because they were saying he was arrogant and he's a me first player. And, I looked throughout the history of football, and there's been players drafted with, involved in some of the most heinous crimes. Some of them involved with drugs, theft. Some of them were tied into even, unaliving people, gang activity, all sorts of things. And they have players that are still in the league that are attached to some of those same heinous crimes: fraud, theft, abuse on a spouse, even caught on video. And it's some players that have been tied in with unaliving people that were still embraced by the ownership and allowed to play after the incident. Even players who've been accused and alleged sexual deviance. And it's like, out of all that stuff, being arrogant and being a me first player, why would that be a reason not to draft you big based on your talent? Because if you look at the landscape of professional sports, it's filled with people who are me first, who are arrogant. A lot of times, in order to be involved with sports, you got to be borderline arrogant and confident in yourself in order to compete at a high level. You got to see yourself better than others. You got to see your talent superior to others in order to compete with some of the world's best. That's baked in. That's baked in. And, you talking about playing with people that perhaps you might not have a relationship with. when you think sports is a team sport, but at some level, you gotta have that self drive. You gotta have that something inside of you that makes you go. And it may come across as not being a team player, but like look at people like Aaron Rodgers. you know, there's a lot of people that you could look at that it may seem like they self-oriented, but you get in there in the locker room, they perform. And it's like, I wonder what was the true reason, because if that's the reason, there's a lot of players that shouldn't be in the league. There's a lot of players that shouldn't get drafted. And to single that situation out, I don't know what the real reason was. I have my assumptions. Like I said, I've seen players with way worse situations, way worse, you know, negative, I would guess, press around them. And it's like they still made it to the league. They were still able to move on. You think about people like Randy Moss. You think about people like Jason Williams and stuff like that who, for all intents and purposes, might have not made it to the league if we was just trying to make sure somebody was strictly upstanding. And, I didn't see 100 players better than Shedeur Sanders this year. And I couldn't for the life of me figure out why in the world he slid down that far. Because when you say something like that, what if that's his personality? You telling me that you don't want a person to break? Basically, he got to be himself, because you look at other quarterbacks with that same personality. You look at Johnny Manziel. They didn't hold that against him. They say, that was his strength, his cockiness. You look at people like Baker Mayfield, same type of personality. Brash, arrogant, sometimes a me first type player. And it's like, man, you look at a young kid and you figure he has room to mature. That's what you put him around other professionals and veterans for. And, you can't expect a 20-something, 19, a younger age adult to act is seasoned as a veteran. You give him you give him time to mature. That's what it's about. That's what the fraternity supposed to be about, placing you in situations where you could grow as a man. But who knows? Who knows what it was about? I don't. So, I just wanted to, to me, they say you got to go along and get along, but man, I never been a subscriber to that, because if I give too much of myself, I feel like, I'm not myself. And at the end of the day, you have to be yourself in order to operate on your highest level. So keep that in mind. As long as you ain't disrespecting and hurting others, be yourself. There's going to be people out there that don't agree with you regardless of what you do. They ain't agree with, I don't want to say the name, people might get mad, but, they ain't agree with the man who sacrificed himself for our sins. There's people out there hating on him. So, I'm going to move on from that topic and get into the Shannon Sharpe situation. What's up with that, y'all? What's up with that? I don't know a lot about that Shannon Sharpe situation, but, he got the sexual allegations and abuse. Somebody suing him for $50 million right now, and it's the same lawyer that was trying to sue on Jay-Z. And I think he was at P. Diddy, and he go around chasing people, trying to get them big lawsuits, civil suits against him. I don't think it's a criminal charge they filing, but they trying to get the money. And they were saying that he had this big contract for like $100 million on the table, and they stepped in the picture trying to demand $50 million from him. And I think he tried to settle for 10, in hopes to get this out the way because it was so much money on the table. But now, I heard his lawyer coming out to defend him and saying, it was a consensual relationship. And then you got people saying, man, why he with the young girls? And you got Tracy Ellis Ross on the other hand talking about she like young guys. So, somebody's preference shouldn't be demonized. We got laws and we got stuff that you shouldn't do, but some people got their own preferences. A lot of people, I'm not here to sit and debate with somebody about their preferences. I look at them if were you wrong or right. And I didn't see so far where Shannon Sharpe could have been wrong at. And I don't know if it's a money grab or not. I see the evidence that I heard was some recordings, and they got like chain text that kind of go through the back and forth banter between them. And it sounded like they was both into some kinky stuff, and they were swapping it out. And, a lot of times you got to watch who you deal with, but it doesn't make you wrong because somebody that you're dealing with is trying to take advantage of you at the same time. So, like I said, I don't know. I guess through the proceedings, we going to find out, more information going to start leaking. But, I'm not going to jump on right quick and say he's guilty or not guilty. I just wanted to point that out. Then we got another situation with Kanye. Kanye West. He got this song called Cousin. And in the song, he talking about relationships, the relationship that he had with his cousin. He was saying something about when he was young, he was in his father's closet and found Playboy magazines. Him and his cousin looked at those magazines. Then he said he went up in his mama's closet and found same-sex pornography. And he say him and his cousin acted it out. Now, he didn't give a lot of detail, but he gave some detail. He was saying when they started, his cousin was 6. When it ended, he was 14. Now, he wasn't very specific, but, I don't know if it was an age discrepancy. He didn't say all that, but what he did say is when they started, his cousin was 6. When they ended, he was 14, and he said he was performing fellatio on his cousin until he was 14. And at 14 years old, man, woo. At 14 years old, I think I was in the 10th grade. Most people probably at 14 years old, they probably be in a 9th, 10th, grade, so something around there. And at 9th and 10th grade, I kind of knew what my sexuality was. I'm not knocking his preference. I'm not knocking what he do, but at 6 years old and 14 years old is two different things. At 14 years old, you definitely know what you're doing and what you're getting into. And it just made me step back and say maybe that's why, this man shows so much to the world. That's why he might be dealing with some of the things. Maybe that affected it. And then he was saying that his cousin was also affected by it and wound up going to jail and is in prison right now for unaliving somebody. And he said he felt sort of responsible for that, for some of the stuff that they was doing. Now, that's something deep. And you never know what people going through. I don't know why he came out with that. I'm sure we can't give him the answers to that. I'm quite sure it's a setting so he could vent that in a more healthy way to somebody who could offer him more, ways to deal with that, because we can't. As the listening public, we just looking back like, oh, whoa, slow, what the world? But, man, oh, man, that was another thing. Then we got Kevin Gates. I don't know which songs he got. I got 2 phones, and one of them he using the word LeBron James. LeBron James, he was sitting up there say he would never trade places with LeBron James because he don't like the way Savannah James look at LeBron. And I'm thinking, this man can't even hold a relationship together himself. Who is he to give advice or relationship advice when he can't even keep his own relationships intact? He bounced around from woman to woman as far as I seen. I think he was married to his cousin or something like that, and went to jail, came home. Now he wound up, I think he has Brittany Renner in his life, and she's like I want to say a on-air celebrity. She's the baby mother of P.J. Washington, a current NBA star that played for the Dallas Mavericks. And at the time, she was on the internet acting, real loose. But now she wearing the 3/4 coverings, like she Muslim. I don't know what is. I don't know exactly what's going on, but that's who is in his life right now. And he don't know their relationship. He don't know what's going on behind the closed doors. If we go by what we know they got 3 kids together. They've been married. They've been together since high school. I think they've been married for going on since 2003, 4, 5 or something like that. So they might have been married. They might be married for now 2 decades, 20 years. Like somebody like him can't even hold a relationship together for 3 years. So it's like, who are you to give advice? What is it your concern on the inner works? And obviously, it's working for them. It's working for them. They successful. Like you want them to listen to you so he could be like you. Why does it even matter what? And then he gonna show up to the basketball game with his shirt open, staring at LeBron James, like he wants some sort of conversation or a confrontation. What concern is it with this? Like, worry about your relationships, not the next person's relationships. Stop trying to be, what's her name? Fix my life, Ayana. Like, stop trying to be her. You want to be Dr. Phil out this joint, man. Just do you. Keep your life, keep your head on straight, man. I remember people was rooming around that you was in the house with transgenders and that you was in the Chicago jails messing around the wrong way. So it's like, man, but I guess people do what they want to do and they say what they want to say. But like to me, man, everybody just put your guns, put your weapons down. Stop trying to attack people. I seen something today, and it was a demonstration. The dude, he got a younger person to stand up on a stool and was like, pull me up. And the person was trying to pull him up and they were struggling. And then when he pulled the person down, he said, it's easier to pull somebody down than it is to pull somebody up. Like, that's the easy thing, to tear people down, talk greasy about people, to abuse people. That's the easy thing. It takes strength to pull somebody up, to compliment somebody, to add on to somebody's situation. So like I said, man, I wanted to bring this around to a full circle. And, I just want the world to be a better place, and you should too. So with that, I'm going to say, man, let's just put our weapons down, man, please. And can we all just get along? Y'all heard Rodney King, man. Even after he got beat, he could have been angry and said, man, but he just said, man, can't we all just get along? And with that, I'm going to wrap it up, man. I had a good time with y'all. Y'all know what it is. It's the Let's Get To It show. And that's a tour with you, because I always got you in mind. So if you don't mind, I just wanted to break it down for you, because you ain't never heard nothing like this before. And at the end of the day, it's all for you. It's really all for you. So, I'm about to wrap it up, man. I am King Sam. I am the powerful. I am the biggest hater this side of Texas. I do talk reckless. So if you want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, matter of fact, I don't even think y'all can handle the truth. Y'all can't handle the truth. My case is closed. Court is adjourned. And I'm out of here, y'all.